In this video, we are going to talk about my top 3 tips of raising your self-confidence when it comes to retiring off-grid. If you are in your 40s, 50s, and you are thinking about getting a head start into the retiring world, and especially off-grid somewhere, well, this video is for you. My name is Adi. I have started my project in 2018, about 7-8 years ago, and it had been a really big adventure from the start. I learned a lot. I am not a guru, but I hope I can be your guide, and hopefully you can learn from some of the mistakes that I've done, so you don't have to repeat those. Tip number 1, it's don't wait too long. With that, just if you've been thinking and putting it off, and you always hesitate, you listen to people left and right, just don't. Just listen to your gut feeling and just go for it. Because, by the time you decide to go, you're probably going to be too old. No offense. But you won't be able to lift a bag of concrete. You won't be able to lift a log off the ground, trying to drag materials left and right. So that's tip number 1. Do not wait too long. Just go ahead and do it. Tip number 2 will be to find a location. Now, as all the real estate agents will tell you, location, it's the most important part. And of course, that will be it, because if this is going to be your retirement spot, it's not like you're going to go to that one and then you're going to change that one and you're going to go to another one and so forth. So try to find one and stick with that one. Just if you have been seeing something before, and your heart got excited about it and you wanted to be in that place, go ahead and do some more research. Go there, maybe do another trip or two, just to make sure. But that location is going to have to be important, and once you choose that location, stick with it. Okay. Now, tip number 3 will be to adapt and learn from your mistakes as well. Even if you're going to listen to me or anybody else, you're going to find really quick that anything that you knew might not be true, or might not help you. So you're going to have to adapt to how that particular place will be from financial perspective, from the labor that you're going to have to have, people are going to help you with some projects there. You're going to have to know who you can trust, all that stuff. But again, I've done it, so enjoying the process all along. It's funny how, looking back, how everything changed over all these years. And now I am in crutches, as you can see them behind me. And this is how I got to start this video, just because I had a surgery, I had a 4-wheeler accident, and in that same spot, same the cabin. It's a story to that, but we'll go into that maybe another time. So I hope you will find your spot like I did mine. Water, it's important. Power, it's important. All the infrastructure, that goes with it. You're gonna have to figure that out. Especially if you're gonna be off-grid, it's gonna make it even more challenging. It gives you more freedom to do stuff, but at the same time, it's gonna be harder to get all these utilities that you are used to maybe now, to where you flush the toilet and you don't know where that goes to. you turn on the water at your faucet in the kitchen, there's water coming, from the fridge, you name it. I know it sounds, silly, but, like once you are up there somewhere, you're gonna be like, okay, where do I get the water? Where do I get power? How do I do the sewer? Things gonna have, become like complicated really, really, really quick. I am still learning. I am in a process right now, like, to just take care of, like, the power. To me, the electricity, like, it's really important. And so I had started with all the house. Nobody lived in there for like 30 years, and when I got it, the roof had was gone. It was everything was rotten from the top to the bottom. I'm gonna show you a few clips and see how that went. First I went and I just kind of enclosed that part, trying to keep the structure from getting destroyed, and because it's wood structure, the bottom, you can see it's it's all stone. It's in a really isolated area. I mean, it's, you drive your car, it's and then from there it's about 45 minutes to an hour if you just hike and walk nicely, not carrying anything up there. So the challenge to me was carrying materials up to the cabin. At first it was mostly on my back. I remember going with my brother. We tried to get a stove up there. I think I have a short clip. I may try to find it and put it here so you can see it. I didn't know much about it, and then some of the locals had mentioned to me, it's like, hey, if you carry anything up there, you're gonna have to put it on a stick between two people, and you kind of carry that stuff up there. And I just cannot imagine how they build what they build up there. I mean, I know there were families, a lot more people living in that area, back in the day. From what I understood, from the locals, everybody kind of helped each other. They were going a few days, to one person, helped build whatever, and then after that, they were going, to this other person, and so they always, kind of help each other, and just building, stuff, with what was in the area there. So you can see the structure is all stone. The beams that goes inside the house, it was just logs, massive, wood logs, and the house, it's really nice insulated. It's got that the wood sticks, and then they just put I guess lime, dirt, mixed, with hay, kind of all that stuff, and just plaster the walls, and then it's a lot nicer. You warm up really quick inside. So you can carry stuff up there, like I said, with your backpack, by yourself, and then everybody told me, it's like, hey, you're gonna need a horse, and then I got a horse. I thought, I'm gonna be using it a lot more. I left it, one of the villagers there at the bottom of the mountain, mentioned to me, it's like, hey, if you get it, I'm gonna keep it here, and then when you come, you can just use the horse and carry stuff up there. And I was like, that sounds like a great plan. It was about $600. I bought a horse, and I have not used it once. Every time I was going there, the guy, was like, well, he's too young, he's not trained, he needs, the horseshoes and all kind of reasoning. And I was like, dude, man, I'm pretty sure if I carry 40 kilos, 80 pounds on my back, that horse can do just the same, if not more. So just why not trying to use it? I'm not saying abuse the animal, but at least that's what's the purpose for. And so after 2 years of just going back and forth, I was still carrying stuff on my back, and I was like, you know what, forget about it, I'm just gonna sell it. The guy just bought it back, just gave me the money. I paid for for him, a handsome fellow. His name was Maximus, but he just wasn't. He wasn't working, for me. Then the other part I tried. I was starting, to do a paramotor course. I was thinking, just flying in. I was like, I can't just carry stuff, up there all the time. I'm just gonna learn how to fly, I can just maybe get 40, 50 pounds with me and then fly in and then just land over there. Then I won't lie, I got spooked a little bit, a few accidents happened, not with me, but with others, professionals and stuff like that. And then I was like, I can fly. Especially going into the mountains there, the turbulences, going over the valleys. It's just, you need a lot of training, and I don't want to take any chances to break more bones that I need to, for that matter. So that was the other adventure, with the paramotor. I still have it, I haven't sold it yet, and then I was like, okay, forget about that part. The next option was, I've seen on YouTube, of course, videos with an electric wheelbarrow. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna make one. And so I got my dad's old steel heavy duty kind of wheelbarrow. I got one of those wheels, the electrical wheels, just modify, welded the whole structure. And I did carry stuff up there 2 or 3 times, but my hands were getting really tired because the weight wasn't evenly distributed. And I guess you can still use that thing and modify it to where it might be easier to go, but on that little trail that's there, it's just it's really hard to do. Then after the wheelbarrow, the electrical wheelbarrow, I have finally got the news that the national park had approved for folks in the area to just open up a little trail to have access to their houses, which is really great. I was kind of bittersweet, after 7-8 years of just breaking my back with either by horse or carrying stuff up there. They decided to okay, let's just put this access road in. And to me, it's kind of double sword, because when I bought the place, the reason I bought the place was that it was really quiet. There was no cars, no noise, nothing. The way that little stream that goes by, that water stream that just got that sound, and I just fell in love with it because I knew the air quality, everything is just pure up there. So with having this all access door open, of course, makes it easier to carry stuff up there. Everybody can carry materials and stuff, but at the same time the noise, it will go up because of it. So the national park had approved them to open up the trail, but not more than 2 meters, so let's say about 7, maybe 8 feet, I don't know, just enough to have a small those 4-wheelers going up on the on that trail. The only problem with that was that they fixed the problem of having access to the spot there, but they created another one, and that's how I end up actually with my torn LCL, ACL, and my meniscus. They're all snapped. If there are 2 people driving, one coming up, one coming down, there's no refuge to go around and just let the other person pass, because again, the national park just said okay, you can just only stay on this road, and that's it. If you make it wider, they were afraid that like, you know, big trucks, you know, gonna come and just, you know, cut, you know, the trees, and, you know, like it's a big mafia, like, you know, like, you know, back there, you know, to where like they just go and then just wipe forests down, and it's a nightmare. But, and that's what I was afraid, you know, too. If they will open up that trail, it's gonna open up, you know, like, you know, the door to illegal, you know, like, you know, logging and stuff like that for. So this last time I've been there, it was in September of 2025, right? 1 week in, you know, like I was really excited, you know, like I bought a brand new like four-wheeler, an ATV, a Honda. Perfect for what I needed, you know, like it was a utility, you know, machine, you know, kind of like, you know, it's not for like going off-road and then just jumping over things and going into mud. That's not what I got it for. What I needed is to carry, like, you know, materials up to the cabin. And I ordered a lot of lumber. I was ready, you know, like, you know, to start, you know, like, you know, building the mill at the bottom of the hill. And there comes the guy behind me. And it's like, hey man, yeah, just can you move your stuff so I can just go around you and go up there? I was like, there's no way to move, you know, like it's really tight. I don't want to, you know, just wait, you know, a few more minutes, because I'm about, you know, to finish like, you know, tying the logs, you know, into my four-wheelers, and then we are going the same direction. And the guy was like really annoyed, you know. He had like, you know, there were like 4 people in the car, like, you know, 2 people in a you know, trailer that they have with them there. And then they said like, yeah, fine, gonna wait for you, and because you're gonna go with this one faster anyway. And I am a nice guy, I would say, and faster I went. You know, I've been, you know, doing like, you know, trips back and forth like 20-25 times before this. Even on the night before, it was rainy, it was dark, and I still did it, and I got to the cabin like, you know, safe, you know, with no problem, because nobody rushed me, you know. So that was one of the things I was afraid of, you know, like people are gonna start coming up on the trail, and then, you know, like all my lumber was like, you know, stuck and kind of deposited up there. And so I did went faster, and then there it comes downhill, and I think I was in second gear, and I switched to first, and then that engine brake kind of like, you know, lifted the back of the ATV just a smidge, I guess, and then with the trailer behind me with the logs were like 19 feet long. So the whole thing, you know, from the front to the back, I think it was like, I don't know, like 30 feet long altogether. And the thing just went sideways. I just kind of went under, and then my legs just like snapped. I stood up, you know, I knew like, you know, something's wrong. I just, you know, like really angry, you know, with myself, kind of, because I, of course, you know, like rushed it, which I shouldn't have. I lift up the ATV, which was the second mistake, and then the guys came and it's like, yeah man, what happened? You know, like, why did you rush it? And I was like, I don't know if I can curse or not, but I was like, fuckers, it's like, did you not say just, you know, just go, because you're gonna go faster, and you were like right on my tail. And now looking into retrospect, I regret doing that, because, you know, like I'm paying big time, not just money, but time and recovery and all that stuff, which is, you know, just like had surgery like a week ago, and yeah, it's what it is. But that's how I get, you know, to do this video with you guys, kind of like, you know, show you and get this you know, story shared, so hopefully you can learn again from my mistakes. And in this next video I'm going to show you, like, you know, like how I carry stuff, like, you know, like with with the horse and all the other stuff and the things that I've done so far to the cabin. So I hope you guys like enjoy it. I will see you in the next one. Ciao.